Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about safe and unsafe sugar glider wheels. I know that you can find a lot of wheels on the internet and they all pretend that they're safe for sugar gliders, but a lot of them aren't. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you can tell if a wheel is safe or not, how to put them inside of your cage, and which wheels are definitely not safe, which ones are, and just give you some pointers on why it's very important that you have a wheel and a safe wheel inside your cage. First of all, we have 4 criteria on what makes a Suggie wheel safe. The first thing is that the track has holes inside, because while Suggies are running the wheel, they like to pee and poop a lot, and when the track does not have any holes inside, it's going to get slippery and they can slip out of the wheel, they can hurt themselves. They are definitely going to get very dirty and smell very bad because they're running in their own urine the whole time. Second thing is that you do not want your wheel to be made out of metal, because the Suggies like to pee while they're running, as I just said, and that's going to make the wheel rust very fast. Maybe some of you believe that rust in a wheel is not that bad, but let me tell you, it's very bad, because the rust can actually get inside their skin and cause irritations and inflammations and a lot of issues with their skin. So you do not want any rust inside of their cage. You don't want them to come near it, because they can also ingest it and it can hurt them from the inside. So there really is no metal wheel that can be considered safe. The third important thing is that your wheel is big enough for 2 and more Suggies, because if you have a couple Suggies and you have a couple wheels inside their cage, you might have noticed that they still prefer to run together. So very interesting, in my case, for example, I have little Lily and she just prefers to hold on tight to the wheel while Nala does all the running for hours, and I just watch them and she just stays there very quietly and watches Nala, and Nala struggles and keeps running and having her exercise. So that can also happen, but you just want your wheel to fit most certainly more than 1 or 2 gliders, because they need their space. And if you only have 2 sugar gliders and you say that you will never have more, so you don't need a big wheel, let me tell you, they also love to jump inside their wheel while running. They love to jump and turn around and do all kinds of shenanigans, and they need their space to do that. They just need that space to jump up and down and to jump over each other while running, and it's very interesting to watch. It's very adorable. I love watching them while they're running their wheel, but in order to do all of these things, they need their space. The fourth and last important detail is that your wheel has no middle axle. It's so important, and too many people are not aware of this. The wheel is not allowed to have a middle axle. As I just told you, they love to jump and they can get caught. They can hurt their patagion, that is the skin, the flap of skin between their limbs, and they can hurt their back, they can break their back, they can get caught inside of that middle axle. I'm not going to show you pictures because it's horrible to look at, but if you want to see what can happen when you're using an unsafe wheel, just type in Google sugar glider rodent wheel accident and you will see what I'm talking about. It's very risky, and I know some people report that they've never had a problem with the rodent wheel and that they recommend it because their Suggies love it. Good for you. I'm happy that you never had a problem, but way too many people had problems. Why would you want to risk that? Why would you even want to risk that? It's too dangerous. Just because it worked out for you does not mean that it's going to work out for the next person. And do you really want to be responsible for another Suggie's death? Do not recommend ever an unsafe wheel just because it works for you. Even the safest wheel can be dangerous when not properly installed. So the first thing you want to do is properly put your wheel together. Follow the instructions that come with the wheel, because they usually come with instructions. Put the wheel together and then secure it to your cage. You want to secure your wheel in one way or another. For the freedom wheels with the X stand, you have to secure them with zip ties. The next important part is that you leave room between the wheel and the cage on all sides, because sometimes the Suggies like to run from the outside and you don't want them to snap their neck while running. I'm sorry that I'm being so brutal with my descriptions, but it's very important to point these issues out. The wheel should offer some clearance from all sides just because you don't want your Suggies to get hurt. I suggest you leave room for about one sugar glider, so about this much room between the bottom of the cage, between the sides of the cage. And I can't talk about the other wheels because I've never had them, but the Freedom wheel over here comes with a bigger bolt as well, so you can have more clearance in the back too. Some of the Safe wheels you can purchase come with either an X stand or a normal mount, and you have to pick one of those out when you are purchasing your wheel. My wheels are both with X stands and they are secured to the sides of my cage, and also they come with a normal mount, but personally I prefer the ones with the X mount because I feel like they're a bit more secure, and my Suggies are so bouncy, so I just prefer it this way. But a lot of people are also using wheels with normal mounts and they've never had any issues, so for me it's just a personal preference. A very controversial wheel that you can find in a lot of forums and Facebook groups and in shops as well, some shops offer this and say that it's a safe wheel, is the Silent Runner. And I'm going to talk from my own experience now because I have had the Silent Runner. When I have first started out with my Suggies, I had a different wheel and it was a very unsafe one. Once I found out about the differences between a safe and an unsafe wheel, I started looking for a safe wheel for my sugar gliders. And one of the few available in Europe was the Silent Runner. I saw the Silent Runner and I saw the Stealth wheel. Since there was no explicit article on Suggie info that the Silent Runner was unsafe, I just thought to myself it's probably something new and it's probably something they haven't tested out enough to put it on the website, but I'm sure it's safe because it doesn't have a middle axle. It's very silent as well, which is very important when you have nocturnal animals, and it's not metal and it's going to be fine. I'm sure it's going to be fine. So I got the Silent Runner and I was very happy with it for around 5 minutes until the Suggie started running, because the Silent Runner was not stable enough. They were running and running like crazy, and back then I only had 2 Suggies, Daisy and Nala, and the Silent Runner kept bouncing off of the bottom of the cage. It was moving around. It was moving around. It was slowly moving in a different direction. Even though I've left it in one side of the cage, I would find it in a completely different part of the cage. That got me really concerned. So I started attaching the Silent Runner to the bottom of the cage with zip ties just to make sure that it stayed in place. Now, some alarm bells already started ringing, but I've kept it in for a while longer because I had no other choice. I didn't have another wheel. In retrospect, I should have just taken it out completely, but I have not. Then the second part was that the Silent Runner was such a chore to clean. You had to remove the front from the track, you had to clean the track, and the track was so dirty, and my Suggies started smelling so bad after only a couple days. If I would not clean the wheel daily, they would stink so much because they were constantly running in their own urine. Even though I secured the stand of the Silent Runner to the bottom of my cage, I never anticipated the next problem. While my Suggies were running, they were unscrewing the wheel from the stand because they were running so fast, or maybe the stand just was too wonky or too flimsy, or the wheel itself. I don't know. Whatever happened, they kept unscrewing the part that kept the wheel and the stand together, and I risked them dying over this. So when I noticed this problem, that's when I decided, okay, I'm not compromising anymore. I'm not playing with the life of my Suggies. I'm removing this now and I'm going to purchase a proper wheel. So I took it out and replaced it with a Stealth wheel. Yeah, that was the Stealth wheel. And the last thing about the Silent Runner is not that big of a deal, but now that I've had other safe wheels, I can just make this comparison. It is called a silent runner, but I guarantee that it is not as silent as a stealth or a freedom wheel. Even though compared to my first unsafe wheel, it was silent, it was a very big difference. So it's a bit difficult with the silent runner because even though it is somehow in a great area, it's not entirely unsafe because it fits most of the criteria, especially now that they have included the option to purchase a track for the silent runner with holes inside. I would still never recommend it. Honestly, I would not risk it, and if anyone told me that they got a silent runner, I would just say, well, it's your business what you do in your home, but keep in mind that mine could have killed my sugar gliders because it started unscrewing while they were running inside. So no, I know it's the gray area and I know a lot of people use it and recommend it, and I've seen YouTubers do it too, and I would not. I would suggest you stay away from it. Now I want to give you 3 examples of very bad wheels. The first one is the silent spinner, and it's a very popular wheel, and many believe that because it does not have a metal axle that it's safe. It is not. It's a hazard, not only for sugar gliders. That wheel should not be allowed in pet stores. I'm not going to add the picture in this video because I don't want you guys to freak out, and it's really heartbreaking. But this did not happen to a sugar glider, this happened to a hedgehog. I saw a picture in a hedgehog group, and the hedgehog had pinched his paws inside the silent runner, and they were open and bloody, and they just filled the whole silent runner with blood. And so when the owner woke up in the morning and had a look at the hedgehog, the wheel was filled with blood. And it also happens to hamsters, and it can also happen to sugar gliders. Because it's just a pinch, it does not depend on their weight or on their size or anything. It can pinch their paws, it can pinch their nails. They can lose a toe over this. If they run really fast and their nail gets caught inside, they will lose their limb because of this. So no to silent spinners. They're so unsafe. And if that isn't enough to convince you to throw out the silent spinner, keep in mind they're also very flimsy and they're very small, and it's just a big no-go. Please do not use or purchase a silent spinner for your Suggie or for any other animal because they're just not safe. A very popular wheel for sugar glider recommended by so many pseudo experts is the Wodent wheel, and I'm very happy that none of them had their Suggie die from a Wodent wheel. But as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I've seen more than enough evidence that a Wodent wheel is simply unsafe. So pretty much all of the scenarios that I talked to you about in the beginning of this video are possible with a Wodent wheel. Because of the middle axle, they can get caught while running. They can catch their patagium, they can break their neck, they can break their back, they can catch their toes. It's a hazard, and it has nothing to do in a Suggie's cage. No matter how many people recommend them, no matter how many people will tell you that they've had these for 10-15 years in use without any issues, check out the pictures on Google and you will see that the Wodent wheel is not a good wheel. I personally wouldn't recommend it for any pet, but especially not for sugar gliders, because they have their tail, they have their patagium. It's way too risky, and there have been way too many accidents. So why risk it? Just purchase a safe wheel from the very beginning, or the moment you realize that your wheel is unsafe, take it out of their cage and replace it with a safe one. And I suggest you remove the wheel from the cage as soon as you know that it's unsafe. Do not wait for a safe wheel to arrive. You can use this unsafe wheel, for example, as a toy bin, ball pit, or something like that. But I would not suggest you keep it mounted inside of the cage until the safe one arrives, just because every time they run in it, they risk their lives. The last type of unsafe wheels I want to talk about is the metal, wire, or mesh wheels with spokes. They are so dangerous. The Suggies can actually get caught between the spokes and lose a limb and probably, most certainly not survive it. While using one of these wheels, the best case scenario is that they only lose a limb because death is almost certain. So don't even consider using this for your Suggies because they're not worth the money. Even if they're so inexpensive, it's just not worth it. And this type of wheel is not safe for any pet. I would not recommend it with any pet. Please don't buy this. For the last part of this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about safe wheels as well. I know I mentioned in the beginning of the video that even when you have a safe wheel, you have to attach it properly to the cage and you have to leave room for clearance and so on, otherwise they're not safe either. So keep that in mind while watching the rest of this video. But I just want to tell you a couple names of wheels that you can use and why they are so great. Both the safe wheels that I had so far came from Attic Works. I had the Stealth wheel in the beginning after I switched from my Silent Runner, and then I upgraded to the Freedom wheel. They are both super silent. I can never hear them. I sleep with an open door. The Suggies are in my living room and I sleep next door in my bedroom, and I cannot hear them running their wheel because it's just so silent. The tracks have holes inside, of course, as recommended. They have no middle axle. They're very secure. You can't just unscrew them. You can securely attach them to your cage. They're easy to clean. The Stealth wheel is not being produced anymore. It was taken out of production. They only produce the Freedom wheel now. Personally though, after upgrading to the Freedom wheel, I know why. Because the Freedom wheel is easier to clean and will not gather urine in hidden spots like the Stealth wheel did. Let's be honest, it was a great wheel, but there was always somewhere a blind spot where it gathered urine. That's not possible with the Freedom wheel. In general, you will notice that most Suggie Safe wheels are very similar to each other. So even though they have different names, they look very similar and they're all very silent. There's no big difference if you purchase a Freedom wheel or a Raptor wheel because they look similar and they work in a similar fashion. Another example for a safe Suggie wheel is the Raptor wheel, and it is very similar to the Stealth wheel. Then from Spin Zone, we have the Fast Track, the Titan, and the Treadmill. The Treadmill is an alternative to Suggie Safe wheels, and I think it would be great for geriatric Suggies, but I've never had one. But they're safe, they're considered safe. They have been tried out for many years by veteran owners or by their pets and are highly recommended. So if you want something different for your Suggies, I've seen a lot of people use them. There is one last thing that I would like to mention before ending my video, and this is so important. Please do not use hamster balls for your sugar gliders. Don't use them for any pets. They're not safe. They have tiny holes, and not only Suggies get hurt, every pet can get hurt if running in them because they can catch their toes, they can catch their nails, and they can break a limb while running inside of a hamster ball. So please do not use them. They're so unsafe, they're too small, it's just way too risky. And I know it seems like a lot of fun for you, but it's not fun for the Suggies. But because I don't want to be a party pooper, I am going to suggest an alternative, and that is the Spin Zone Runabout. It looks a bit similar to a hamster wheel, but it's bigger, and of course it's safe. It's made with the Suggie safety in mind. I've seen a lot of pictures on social media of Suggies running in their runabout and having lots of fun. So if this is something you would like to try out with your Suggies, just please don't choose hamster balls. Pick the runabout instead. this was my video on safe and unsafe wheels, and I hope this answered some of your questions. If you have any more questions, please ask them in the comments below. I hope you liked this video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, and I will add all of the links and names in the description box below if you want to follow us over there. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!